Hola y un saludo a los estudiantes que están en la clase de Español 111. Soy el profesor Antón García Fernández. As you already know, classes have been canceled until the end of the semester at the university, and so this video is part of a contingency plan to turn in-person classes into online classes. This is the second video that we are going to do about comparisons. The first video was a video in which we talked about comparisons with adjectives, using adjectives, and now we are going to be talking about whenever we use comparisons without adjectives. So instead of saying things like taller than, less interesting than, as exciting as, what we're going to say is things like I study more than somebody else. I work less than somebody else. Or I read as much as somebody else. Already in the English examples, you can see that there are no adjectives in sentences like that. I study more than my sister. I'm not talking about being intelligent. I'm not talking about being taller. I'm not talking about being more beautiful, anything like that. No, we're not talking about that. There's no adjectives. I'm saying I study more than my sister. It's an action in this case. Okay, so we don't have an adjective. For that reason, okay, we will not find adjectives in Spanish either. What we will find are these expressions that you see right here. Más que, menos que, tanto como. This is the one that's a little bit different, okay? We don't say tan anymore because there's no adjective. What we say is tanto como. Let's read them again and repeat after me, please. Más que, menos que, tanto como. Okay, so I'm going to give you some examples of this so that you can understand the kinds of sentences we're talking about here. Okay, and I got 3 sentences right here that you'll be able to see. I hope you can read them. You can also stop the video at any point so you can actually see a still image of this. The first sentence is at the top there. Yo trabajo más que mi amigo, which means I work more than my friend. As you can see, there is no adjective there. Yo trabajo más que mi amigo. Vamos a repetir la frase, ¿ok? A ver. Yo trabajo más que mi amigo. Muy bien. Here's another phrase right underneath. Mi hermana estudia menos que yo. My sister studies less than I. Again, we don't have any adjective there. We have an action. Mi hermana estudia menos que yo. Vamos a repetir esta frase. Mi hermana estudia menos que yo. Muy bien. And then, these first 2 that we had are comparisons of inequality. More than or less than. Okay? I work more than my friend. My sister studies less than I. Okay? Those are comparisons of inequality. Now, we have a comparison of equality there. Okay? Because it is the same. This person is doing exactly the same amount as I am. Mi esposa lee tanto como yo. My wife reads as much as I. Mi esposa lee tanto como yo. Vamos a repetir esta frase. Mi esposa lee tanto como yo. Muy bien. If you look at all of these, they are phrases with no adjectives. They are phrases that include actions. Trabajo, estudia, lee. And for that reason, since we don't use any adjectives, the expressions that we use for comparison are más que menos que, tanto como. I will show them to you again. They're right here. Más que, menos que, tanto como. If you remember from the previous video, okay, whenever we're talking about adjectives, we have más, then the adjective, and then que, menos, then the adjective, and then que, tan, then the adjective, and then como. That's when you have adjectives, and the adjectives appear where those dots are there in the purple. When we don't have adjectives, which is what we're looking at right now, this is what we have. Más que, menos que, tanto como. Tanto como. That's the one that's different. We don't have an adjective, so in this case we cannot say tan como. What we say is tanto como. What we are comparing here are not adjectives. We're not using adjectives to make the comparison. We are using actions, as in the examples that I gave before. Now, when it comes to comparisons, there are in Spanish also some comparisons that are irregular. This happens in English as well, you will see. And in Spanish, there are two pairs. They are particularly important, which work a little bit different than what we have seen so far. Okay? And they're the ones that I'm showing right here. Okay? Here they are. Mayor, or it's plural, mayores, menor, and it's plural, menores. Mayor means older, menor means younger, and it is always applied to the age of people. Okay? So for example, if I am older than my sister, I would say, soy mayor que mi hermana. If my sister is younger than I, then I would say, mi hermana es menor que yo. Okay? Now, if it's plural, if I'm talking about my parents, for example, if I want to say my parents are older than I, which is usually the case, by the way, or at least it should be, then I will use the plural because I'm talking about mis padres, and that is the plural. So I would say, mis padres son mayores que yo. Mis padres son mayores que yo. I'm describing somebody that's plural, in this case, two people. Mis padres. Okay? So, mayor, menor. Okay, let's repeat this. Mayor, menor. I realize that mayor is spelled like mayor in English, but it is pronounced mayor. Okay, mayor means older, menor means younger, in the case of talking about the age of people. And then underneath, we have two other words. Mejor, and it's plural. Mejores. Peor, and it's plural. Peores. Mejor means better. Peor means worse. And this is like in English. In English, we don't say more good. We say better. We don't say more bad or badder. We say worse. So in Spanish, we have the same situation. Mejor, peor. Let's repeat this. Mejor, peor. And of course, they are used in exactly the same way as the ones at the top. If I want to say, for example, Martin is better than Nashville, for example, I could say, Martin es mejor que Nashville. Okay? Or if I want to say, for example, Memphis is worse than Martin, then I would say Memphis es peor que Martin. Okay, if you're describing something plural, of course, you would use the plural, mejores or peores. Okay, so these two are the exception. They're what we would call the irregular comparisons. Let's read them again, okay, to make sure you get the pronunciation right. Mayor, mayores, menor, menores. That's older and younger. And then underneath, mejor, mejores, peor, peores. Muy bien. That is better and worse. Okay? So that is really how to make comparisons in Spanish when you are not using adjectives. And then at the end of the video, I've given you also the irregular comparisons in Spanish. All of this information you can also find on pages 156 and 157. That is 156 and 157 of the book that we're using this semester, which is this one right here. Arriba, 7th edition. Páginas 156 y 157, 156 and 157. And then on Canvas, I have also uploaded a handout that has an outline of all this information from this second video of comparisons and also from the first video of comparisons, which is the one in which we talk about comparisons with adjectives. Muchas gracias por su atención. Me despido ya. Soy el profesor Antón García Fernández.